What's cracking YouTube? My name is Neckpunch, and today I'm going to be unpacking 5 new types that could be added to the Pokemon series, but that probably won't be. I'd love it if they were, because I think new types change the game, they make it harder, they create more type combinations and more opportunities for new Pokemon ideas. But I don't think we need any more new types, because the game is pretty balanced, and many people struggle to keep track as it is. But that being said, today I'm going to count down my 5 favorite ideas for new types that I personally think would be a blast if they were added to the game. Number 5, Nuclear. This typing was a big part of the fan-made game Pokemon Uranium. There were some other aspects to corrupted nuclear Pokemon, but the main draw card for me is the idea of a type that is super unstable, making it super effective against everything, but also weak to everything. I've seen this idea suggested in a number of places around the internet, under lots of different names: nuclear, radioactive, or chaos type, to name a few. I think it'd be a crazy addition to the games. Maybe a little too crazy, which is why it's not higher on the list, but I think it'd make for some really interesting gameplay, and I'd love to see how that affected the metagame in general. Number 4, Fungal. Now I know this is a controversial one. I've seen people get crucified on message boards for even hinting this. But I confess, I am one of those nerds who has always been just a little bit bothered by the implication that fungi are plants by the classification of mushroom Pokemon as grass type. In our world, fungi are more like animals than they are plants. And I know that there is at least 3 or 4 people out there in the world who understand this and get what I'm talking about. The challenge is coming up with weaknesses and resistances that are different enough from grass to actually justify the existence of fungal as a separate type. Which is probably why Game Freak didn't do it in the first place. To make it work, you probably have to stretch things a little, which maybe doesn't make it worth it. But it's fun to speculate. I'd make fungal weak to poison, ice, fire, and steel, but not bug or fly, because first, that'd make it too much like grass, and secondly, whilst birds and bugs do eat mushrooms and stuff, there are enough fungal infections that kill them too, so I feel like it balances out. It'd resist water and dark, the main conditions for its growth. It'd be super effective against grass, normal, and dragon, the types based on living organisms, because that's what fungi eat. Potentially fighting as well, and it'd be resisted by fungal, poison, and fire. It's still maybe a little bit too much like grass, but what can you do? Of course, we'd be retconning the Paris line, the Shroomish line, the Fungus line, and the Morlul line. So that'd be interesting because it gives us some new combinations. Number 3, Blood. Alright, I confess I had this idea one time. I was at uni, I was learning about different blood types that humans have, and I was daydreaming about Pokemon at the same time. Someone said blood type, and I immediately just thought, imagine if there was a blood type Pokemon! What would that even be? The blood type I imagine to represent savagery and brutality, like more vicious than dark, more malicious than fighting. It'd also incorporate Pokemon and moves that draw blood, drain blood, or just use blood. An example from our world would be lizards that attack by shooting a stream of blood out from their eyes. You cannot tell me that that shouldn't be a Pokemon. Blood would be weak to electric, poison, and dragon. It'd resist water because blood is thicker than water. Steel because blood cells contain and use iron. And flying because in air blood clots, which is more defensive. It would be super effective against fairy, water, and possibly fighting, and it'd be resisted by dragon, bug, and ice. You could also make a case for blood resisting itself, or being super effective against itself, since the remedy for a lack of blood is more blood, but at the same time, the wrong blood group when mixed with other blood can be lethal. But to avoid too many weaknesses, I'd probably lean towards making blood resist itself. Number 2, Sonic. This is a type that I feel Game Freak is doing more work to avoid adding than it would have taken to just add it. It's such an obvious idea for a type. I know I'm not the only one to come up with it. And they keep giving us more sound-based Pokemon that attack using loud noises or music or just other sounds. It makes so much sense to me to have a sound type or a sonic type. I'd definitely be retconning Pokemon like Exploud, Chimecho, Noivern to be Sonic type, and there are so many possibilities for other noise and music related Pokemon. I'd love to see some Pokemon based on different genres of music, like a rock Sonic type or a metal Sonic type, which would, I guess, be Steel Sonic, but you know what I mean. I think that'd be really, really cool. I'd make Sonic weak to dark, to reflect the fact that you have to turn your music down at nighttime. Flying, because have you ever tried recording good audio in wind? Yeah. And it'd also be weak to itself because, too many songs at once ruins all of them. It'd resist psychic and ground, and it'd be super effective against steel, because, steel conducts sound pretty well, same way that steel's weak to fire. It'd also be super effective against psychic. Try concentrating when you've got loud noises bombarding you. Then it'd also be super effective against itself, like I said. Finally, Sonic could be resisted by rock. Try listening through a stone wall, as well as dark and flying. There's also a lot of moves that could be retconned to be Sonic type, like Sonic Boom, Uproar, and Boom Burst. So that'd be really fun. And that brings us to number 1. You know what it is. It's light. I've seen so many people across the internet expressing a desire for a light type in Pokemon that I know this doesn't come as a surprise. The light type is what so many other types try and fail to be. Fire, electric, psychic, grass, steel, fighting, and of course, disappointing fairy type. Every single one of them falls short. And the fact that there would be overlap with these types is not an issue in my book. There's plenty of overlap between rock and ground, between water and ice, between flying and dragon. Overlap is fine. Light could cover the spectrum of visible light, other parts like infrared and ultraviolet, and it could also represent goodness or righteousness of soul, forming a sort of triad with fighting representing body and psychic representing mind. And it could still leave heat to fire, electricity to electric, mind powers to psychic, plants to grass, physicality to fighting, and magic to fairy. And there'd still be enough for it to be its own type whilst not defeating the purpose of any other types. Light, I think, would be weak to grass, poison, and maybe rock. It would resist fire, psychic, dragon, fairy, and flying. Light would be super effective against dark, ghost, and flying, and it'd be resisted by steel, poison, and rock. Light would also be immune to dark because darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. And I'd love to buff grass a little bit, and I think it'd be pretty reasonable to give grass an immunity to light. Now, Gen 7, with its Sun and Moon and Prism Pokemon and its whole storyline revolving around light without actually giving us a light type, pretty much proved that it is way too late for us to ever hope we might get this typing. But we still have Fakemon, and we still have fan-made games, so I intend to do my part. My question of the day is, what is your favorite idea for a new type? Let me know in the comments and tell me how it interacts with the other types. But that wraps it up for this video, so until next time, my name is Neck Punch. Have a good one.